morning. I'm Kenneth Moten.
And I'm Kimberly Brooks. Here are the top 5 things you need to know this Tuesday. Number 1, new details about the crash that killed Kobe Bryant, his daughter, and 7 others.
Investigators say the helicopter pilot received special clearance to fly in heavy fog. He was climbing to avoid a layer of clouds just moments before crashing into a hillside. Number 2, President Trump's legal team so far has all but ignored allegations by former National Security Advisor John Bolton that President Trump ordered a so-called quid pro quo from Ukraine.
Yeah, the team's constitutional law expert argued that even if Bolton's claim is true, it doesn't matter. He says it's not an impeachable offense, but the draft of the Bolton book could alter the Senate trial. And on to number 3, the Supreme Court has cleared the way for the government to deny green cards to immigrants if they sign up for public assistance like food stamps or Medicaid, or if they're considered likely to apply for such assistance in the future.
Critics say this will punish the poorest immigrants, but the ruling is not final. Challenges will continue in lower courts. We head to New York for number 4, where prosecutors are accusing Britain's Prince Andrew of zero cooperation in their investigation of financier Jeffrey Epstein.
The prince had promised to help U.S. officials investigate alleged sex trafficking by Epstein, who died last summer. But they claim Andrew has not responded despite their attempts to speak with him. And finally, number 5, we're counting down to the Oscars with the must-see picture. All the nominees got together and took a massive class photo.
Take a look. It's like a Where's Waldo of celebrities, with people trying to count how many famous faces they can spot.
Leonardo DiCaprio is in the front row. To the left, Quentin Tarantino and Robert De Niro are standing behind him.
And farther to the right, Brad Pitt standing right there in the front. Where's Waldo of celebrities? It's Morning America, and let's get right to the new details about the helicopter crash that killed Kobe Bryant.
Investigators are describing the crash site as devastating. They confirm the pilot was trying to climb above a layer of clouds just before the crash.
Overnight, the Empire State Building was lit up in the colors of the Los Angeles Lakers as Kobe Bryant's fans, admirers, and former teammates came together to mourn. Overnight, emotions running high as the NBA paid tribute to their fallen star. Players taking a moment of silence, hugging, crying as the world mourns Kobe Bryant and the 8 others killed in Sunday's helicopter crash.
This impacted so many families, and there's husbands that lost their wives, wives lost their husbands, parents lost their children.
Fellow Laker LeBron James breaking his silence Monday, posting photos of the two along with the caption, "I'm heartbroken and devastated, my brother," adding, "I promise you I'll continue your legacy, man." While Shaquille O'Neal dedicated an entire hour of his podcast to his former teammate.
I didn't want to believe it, so now I'm saying, please don't be true. Please don't be true. Please don't be true.
This as we learn more about the final moments of that fateful flight. We know that Bryant's chopper departed Orange County at 9:06 a.m., heading to his daughter's basketball game. At 9:20, the aircraft circled near Burbank in a holding pattern.
He's been holding for about 15 minutes.
At 9:44, witnesses reported hearing a helicopter flying very low, and air traffic controllers informed the pilot they can't detect him on radar.
2 Echo X-ray, you're still too low level for flight following at this time.
The aircraft then apparently accelerated rapidly before slamming into a canyon near Calabasas at 9:45 a.m. The FBI now on the scene alongside the NTSB. Officials are asking for photos of the area at the time of the crash as they sift through the debris in search of answers.
Should the pilot have been flying in the fog? We look at weather, and we'll have to determine that at some point.
We need to consider weather, obviously, as a potential causal or contributing factor, but we do have hard data that shows that this helicopter was straight and level, and 20 seconds later it was impacting the ground. The answers to this tragedy lie in the last 20 seconds of data that we have on this mishap.
Among those killed, Bryant's 13-year-old daughter, Gianna, her teammate, Alyssa, and her parents, John and Carrie Altabelli. Also on board, assistant basketball coach and mother of 3, Christina Malzer.
How do you tell a child their mommy's no longer with us?
Her husband says the couple's daughter was supposed to be on board, but couldn't go because she was sick.
She cried. I was supposed to be on that flight. I said, no, you weren't. No, you were not. You were not meant to be on that flight.
The pilot of the aircraft, Era Zabayan, the company that trained him, says he had 2 decades of experience. According to Bryant's former pilot, he was very selective about who he would allow in the cockpit of his helicopter, which he started using to give him more time at home.
I had to figure out a way where I could still train and focus on the craft, but still not compromise family time.
People magazine reports Kobe Bryant made a deal with his wife that they would never fly by helicopter at the same time.
Now to President Trump's impeachment trial. His defense team is expected to wrap up its opening statements today. Last night, attorney Alan Dershowitz presented his case, arguing the president's actions are not impeachable. It's all playing out amid growing pressure to call witnesses, including former National Security Advisor John Bolton. ABC's Andrew Dimbert has the new details from Washington. Good morning, Andrew.
Hey, good morning, Kimberly and Kenneth. Yeah, so will this new report lead to witnesses? Democrats say it absolutely should. In fact, they want to hear specifically from John Bolton. But in order for that to even be a possibility, they're going to need a few Republicans to break rank.
Raised by these articles.
In a fight to the finish, Trump's team preparing to wrap up opening arguments today.
You cannot turn conduct that is not impeachable into impeachable conduct simply by using words like quid pro quo.
Trump's attorneys addressed the explosive allegations made by former National Security Advisor John Bolton.
Nothing in the Bolton revelations, even if true, would rise to the level of an abuse of power or an impeachable offense.
A draft of his upcoming book, Bolton says the president personally tied military aid to the Ukraine with investigations into his rivals, something the president's team and Trump himself flatly deny.
I haven't seen a manuscript, but I can tell you nothing was ever said to John Bolton.
But pressure is mounting. Democrats demand to hear from Bolton.
We need all four of our witnesses, John Bolton and Mick Mulvaney and two others who were the president's henchmen.
And now some outspoken moderate Republicans like Senators Susan Collins and Mitt Romney could break party ranks and vote with Democrats on whether to consider calling additional witnesses.
I think it's increasingly likely that other Republicans will join those of us who think we should hear from John Bolton.
Senior White House sources tell ABC News the president's legal team is preparing for the possibility of new witnesses in the impeachment trial. And the critical vote on witnesses could come as early as this week. Kenneth, Kimberly?
All right, Andrew Dimbert there on Capitol Hill. Thank you.
And coming up, the woman trapped under an SUV in New York City.
How bystanders rescued her from beneath the vehicle. After this.
Hey there and welcome back. Let's go across the pond now to the London Bureau, where foreign correspondent Julia McFarlane is keeping an eye on the latest international news. Good morning, Julia.
Morning, Kenneth. Morning, Kimberly. Yes, breaking overnight, there has been an attack on an Afghan police station overnight. Around 11 people were killed, and local government officials say that Taliban militants managed to breach a compound with insider help from a sympathetic policeman inside who managed to open the door to the militants. Now, insider attacks are a frequent feature of that 18-year-old war in Afghanistan. Usually it's US and NATO troops who are the target of those. Don't forget that the Taliban and the US are currently in negotiations over a possible ceasefire, paving the way, many hope, towards a peace deal that could see peace for the Afghans, as well as some 13,000 US troops finally getting to be sent home. Now, another story we are also watching is that yesterday, US attorneys said that despite Prince Andrew's public offer of cooperation with the Jeffrey Epstein investigation, they have so far received zero cooperation from the prince. Now, the US attorney yesterday said that also the FBI had also reached out to the prince's lawyers to no avail so far. Lawyers for Virginia Roberts Giuffre, who claims that she had sex with Prince Andrew when she was 17 years old. Prince Andrew categorically refutes that claim. Her lawyers have been seeking testimony from the prince in connection with the Jeffrey Epstein case since 2015, and those lawyers have sent 2 sets of letters to the prince. ABC News has seen both of those letters. Now, Buckingham Palace is not commenting on this. They say that the Duke of York's legal team are handling all of this. But remember, in that BBC interview last year, Prince Andrew said that he wasn't sure he could be much help because he only spent a small amount of time with Jeffrey Epstein, but he did offer to cooperate should any federal investigators need his assistance. Of course, Jeffrey Epstein, he died last year whilst awaiting trial for sex trafficking and other charges. Guys?
Thanks to Julia there in London, where it's a few hours later in the day, but we have been up all night keeping track of the news. So here are some of the stories we've covered so far on World News Now and America This Morning.
This morning, the Pentagon is being mostly tight-lipped about the crash of a U.S. military plane in Afghanistan. Few details have been released since the communications aircraft went down Monday. ABC's Martha Raddatz reports.
There's no official word as to why the plane crashed, but the U.S. military says there is absolutely no indication that the plane was shot down, as the Taliban is claiming. This aircraft is an E-11. It is a communications aircraft, enabling communications between other aircraft and those on the ground. The area where it went down is under Taliban control, making it very difficult for recovery. The U.S. military will not say how many were on board, but it would have to be at least 2. Martha Raddatz, ABC News, Washington.
And now to the mystery virus in China. Authorities releasing new figures overnight. China says more than 4,500 people are now infected with the coronavirus.
The death toll has jumped to more than 100. Concern about the virus is weighing on global stock markets. The Dow fell more than 450 points Monday, its worst day since October.
And now we're learning new details about the plan to evacuate Americans trapped in the city where the outbreak started.
This morning, a new warning from the State Department urging Americans to reconsider travel to all of China because of the coronavirus. New time-lapse video shows a hospital in Wuhan built in a matter of days as the number of cases keep rising in the country. More than 4,000 are now sick. At least 106 have died. People in Wuhan, the epicenter of the outbreak, are mostly staying indoors, shouting messages of solidarity to each other from their windows. The messages roughly translated to hang in there. Back in this country, the CDC reports 5 confirmed cases and more than 100 people being tested for the virus. The U.S. government is organizing a charter flight for Americans trapped in Wuhan. The flight is expected to arrive tomorrow morning at Ontario International Airport in Southern California. But first, passengers will be screened during a refueling stop in Alaska. Any passengers showing symptoms will be treated there before they fly on to California.
The CDC says the virus is not spreading in America and says there's no evidence that people are contagious before showing symptoms. Officials say a vaccine could be months or even years away. Minnesota has begun its annual version of the Iditarod, only much, much shorter.
The 36th annual Beargrease Marathon is making its way through the northeast part of the state. The race bills itself as the best long-distance sled dog race in North America, which is conducted in a culturally sensitive manner. Women swept the middle distance competition. Long distance mushers are still on the course. Mush!
I gotta admit, I've never heard of the Beargrease race.
Neither have I.
I know the Iditarod, but not the Beargrease.
Same here. Current leaders, about 75 miles from the finish. Middle distance competition was about 40 miles.
Interesting.
Yep.
It's really crazy because this is a short one, but the Iditarod is like 938 miles.
Now to the NFL, as the 49ers and Chiefs get ready for Super Bowl Sunday, their social media teams are dealing with hackers. They're among 15 clubs whose Twitter accounts were breached Sunday and Monday. A group calling itself Our Mine is taking credit, posting the message, "We are here to show people that everything is hackable." The hacks took place over a 2-hour period and included some teams' Facebook and Instagram accounts.
And here's a new reason to worry about climate change. It's threatening the world's wine supply. A new study says an increase of just over 3.5 degrees this century could shrink the areas where wine grapes are grown by more than half. Global warming may require growers to abandon some grape species, putting an end to Burgundy, Bordeaux, and other varieties.
I knew we should have listened to Greta Thunberg. She told us this was going to happen, and now the wine supply?
It's getting crazy out there in these streets.
We call it the iPad. So, let me show it to you now.
That was 10 years ago today. Legendary Apple boss Steve Jobs introducing the iPad for the first time. The iPad was widely mocked for its name following Jobs' announcement. Some analysts predicted it would be a flop. But surprise, Apple has sold more than 350 million of the devices.
What followed was 10 years of people realizing that if you even knock it or drop it, the whole screen would crack. Or our parents taking them to every event and holding them up to record the event with their giant iPad. Dance, baby, dance.
Oh, Lord.
Giant iPad and all. Hey, we're getting our first look at the dramatic moments a crowd lifted an SUV off the ground to rescue a woman who'd been run over and trapped underneath.
It happened right here in New York City, and miraculously, she was not seriously injured. WABC's Kimberly Richardson has her amazing story.
I was conscious, right? So I think that really helped. I kind of was able to react in the situation, which was kind of like just crawl out as quickly as you can.
Crawl out from underneath that SUV, get this, as a group of strangers lifted the car off Veronica. The 25-year-old didn't want to show her face, but wanted to talk about what happened and thank the Good Samaritans who rushed to help her.
Maybe it was like 5 seconds and people were already there like talking to me and like saying to lift the car and stuff. The pedestrians were just incredible. I'm so grateful for them.
Sunday evening here at Delancey and Norfolk Streets on the Lower East Side, Veronica had the right of way, was in the middle of the crosswalk when police say a 65-year-old woman driving that SUV hit her. Afraid the driver would take off, someone snapped this picture. Didn't even realize there, Veronica was under the car.
I think the car pulled me with it for like a couple of meters as well. And then my legs were kind of under the wheel as well, and that was the really problematic part.
Extremely. She was face down. Her ankle was under the rear tire. Once the car was in the air, Veronica was able to crawl out, and amazingly, she has no broken bones, is just very sore and bruised. You are so lucky.
I know. And I mean, I have nothing apart from, broken glasses and like torn clothes. Everything is fine.
Police did give the driver a summons, and despite what happened, Veronica hopes she's okay. Veronica just started a new job and only 2 weeks ago moved here from Germany.
Yeah, it's not the best start to my life in New York, but it can only go up from here.
Kimberly Richardson, Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
I'm in shock.
It can only go up from here.
I'm in shock that nothing happened. Like, that's incredible.
So I'm from the great state of South Carolina. You'll learn about me. And we always show these stories here about New York City, about pizza rats, crazy things on the subway, people getting run over by a car. My folks from South Carolina are never going to visit if we keep showing these stories.
Oh, my goodness.
They're like,
They're terrible.
The city's crazy.
Thank the good Lord that she is fine.
Okay.
Yes. And new research finds that people who develop Parkinson's disease before the age of 50 may have been born with damaged brain cells. Parkinson's is a nervous system disorder usually associated with old age that has no cure. About 10% are diagnosed before age 50, but the researchers also found that one drug already on the market may treat or even prevent young onset Parkinson's. They say more research is needed.
An endurance swimmer went to a very chilly extreme to raise more awareness about climate change.
Yes, Lewis Gordon Pugh, nicknamed the Polar Bear, jumped into the waters in East Antarctica for a swim wearing just Speedos and a cap. The water temperature was 32 degrees, which may have felt warm since wind gusts on solid ground made it feel like 5 degrees. The 50-year-old from Britain is calling for a network of marine protected areas around Antarctica. Incredible.
He was the first person to do this. Apparently, this made him the first person to swim under an Antarctic ice sheet.
I mean, I don't know.
I'm cold just saying it.
I'm cold. Absolutely. It always amazes me how people decide, like, with your life, this is something that you are going to do,
Right.
This has never been on my to-do list.
And there's an online movement to have the NBA change its look to honor Kobe Bryant.
More than 1.3 million people have signed a petition calling on the league to change its logo to a silhouette of Bryant in hopes of having him immortalized forever. The logo has been the silhouette of another Laker legend, Jerry West, since 1969.
We saw Jerry West in a special on Sunday night with Robin Roberts, Michael Strahan. He was so emotional as he sat there talking about Kobe Bryant, who he played a key role in getting Kobe Bryant to the Lakers.
Because he was at the Charlotte Hornets when he first got drafted, correct?
When he first, literally he was only drafted, it was by the Hornets for like seconds. Right, Jack? It was like literally seconds, and then he got traded to the Lakers. And when you see Jerry West there, how emotional he was, I would dare to say, would Jerry West be okay with the change in logo? And that is our question of the day. Should the NBA change its logo to feature Kobe Bryant? Please tell us what you think in the comments or tweet us at ABC News Live. So many different types of tributes out there.
Yep.
This one really would be immortalized for quite some time. I know immortalized means forever, but essentially when Jerry West was put up there, people probably thought that was going to be, for years and years and years and years to come. But after this new development, people feel like it should be Kobe Bryant.
Yes, and millions of people have signed that petition.
Yeah. Coming up, Jimmy Kimmel remembers Kobe Bryant in a very special way.
His look back at Kobe interviews through the years. Up next. And here's what to watch out for today. The president's defense team resumes its case in the impeachment trial, but it's still not clear if witnesses will be called. At least 4 Republicans would have to vote with Democrats to make that happen. Despite new claims by former National Security Advisor John Bolton, no Republicans have said they'd vote for witnesses. In his upcoming book, Bolton says President Trump tied Ukraine military aid to investigations into Democrats, including the Bidens, something the president denies.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is scheduled to return to the White House, where President Trump is expected to debut his much-delayed Middle East peace plan, saying it would be a suggestion for Israelis and Palestinians. From there, the president travels to Wildwood, New Jersey for a campaign rally. And meanwhile, a federal appeals court is set to hear a challenge to President Trump's ban on travelers from 5 predominantly Muslim countries.
And SpaceX is scheduled to launch its Falcon 9 rocket carrying 60 Starlink satellites after bad weather delayed the launch plan for yesterday morning.
And finally from us on this Tuesday morning, amid the mountains of memorials, remembrances, and tributes, it's still so hard to believe NBA legend Kobe Bryant is no longer with us.
Yes, and last night, Jimmy Kimmel paid his own tribute to Kobe Bryant by sharing a treasure trove of Kobe moments on his very own show. Here now is a highlight of some of the best.
Kobe was a hero in the way Superman is a hero. He was so big, it was almost like he was a fictional character. He was a real-life superhero with a costume and everything walking amongst us. Yes, I know he was not a perfect person. I understand that. My intention is not to canonize him or make judgments about things I don't know anything about. But I will say he loved his family, he worked very hard, and he brought a lot of joy to a lot of people in the city, and we're going to miss him. You played with Dennis Rodman for a short time. Do you think he is the solution to our problem with North Korea? Do you think that he is the guy to go over there and...
It's a crazy world, man. You never know. Man, who the hell knows?
Would you go over there and focus on stopping this potential nuclear warhead that could come over? That seems more important than the game.
Yeah, but I'd probably pass.
You would pass on that one?
I'd probably pass.
Oh, for once you're passing.
Yeah. Play center?
No, guard.
You play guard?
Yes.
That's surprising. I think a man of your size would play center.
Well, I play only with Mexican guys.
Oh, okay. Is it a drum roll?
Wow, look at that.
Not bad. Have a look at
Wow. That is something special. I don't think it's a good idea to keep it in your pocket, though, because it'll wind up in the hamper or something,
Oh,
you know?
no.
Thank you so much for this. That is really very nice.
Security!
You think your daughter might want to play in the WNBA?
She does, for sure.
She does?
This kid, man.
Wouldn't that be great?
Dude, man, I'm telling you. The best thing that happens is when we go out and fans will come up to me and she'll be standing next to me and they'll be like, hey, you gotta have a boy. UNV gotta have a boy, man. You got somebody carry on the tradition, the legacy. She's like, Oi, I got this. You know, boy for that. I got this. Like, that's right. Yes, you do. You got this.
A serious competitor on the court, but off. He was
a class act.
Class act, funny man, had some laughs there on Jimmy Kimmel over the years, and we do appreciate Jimmy for bringing us that overnight.
Yes, he will be missed.
That is it for us on this Tuesday. Have a good day.
See you.